Good evening! Tonight we're going to be clearing some some duties alone. Oh right, the music. Don't worry if you're coming from like a Savage prog stream. It's okay. It's not you. It's me. I changed the music because I thought it was funny. Let me fix that. Oh, actually, that is probably also not a great one with the possible trauma of grinding P8S. Let's try this. Okay, we're going to be doing some some regular dungeon duties solo, and we're going to be doing it synced, and we're going to be doing it with minimum level or item level. So just to go over how this works is that we're going to use unrestricted so that we can go in alone, synced so that we're going to go down to the level of the dungeon itself, and minimum item level actually comes with the extra bonus property that if you're doing something where you can be at different, like more than one specific level, like if there's a range, then minimum item level actually also sets your level to the minimum possible. So for example, you can use that to Sastasia's level 15 instead of level 18 if you fancy. It doesn't give you anything. It's just there. It's a little bit like Silence Echo, where if there's like an echo bonus of some sort, you can delete that. That's basically how we're going to do it. So far, we've been able to do, in this challenge, we've been able to do Sastasia, Tantara, Copperbell Mines, Alatali, Totarak, Hawk Manor, and Sunken Temple of Khan. We are also... I can't remember. I do believe, yeah, we did beat Ifrit as well. The first one we couldn't do wasn't Titan, it was Bravelock's Longstop. It could only be done with a Blue Mage because of the Mud Puppy, the weird salamander friend, about over halfway through the dungeon. Unfortunately, the bubble it places on you is unbeatable if you're not a Blue Mage and can kill it before it has a chance to do anything. Then, of course, the second one we had to give up with was Titan, because of his jail mechanic. You cannot beat that with an ordinary job. The only way to beat it, by the way, is you need to basically run down Titan before he uses jail. Like, you have something in the ballpark. I think we found out it was like 15 seconds to kill him in the final phase. And you also have to hurry through the hard phase, because there he can also use it. It's really brutal, even for a Blue Mage. But that of course means that we did Sunken Temple of Khan, and then we're at Cotter's Cry, where we will try with Dark Knight first. If that doesn't work, and I have a feeling there might be a specific thing that gets in the way, we will try with Scholar, who just got Ruin 2 with this level. So that might be really convenient for kiting, and if you watched last time we did these challenge streams, you might have seen how... Oh, hey Coco! How ridiculous it was to solo the Yellow Pelican with a healer. I think it was like 20 minutes of running in circles, something like that. It might have been 15, but it was a long time. Hey Yumia, hey Matthew, good luck with Savage, Matthew. I hope you've gotten far. Before I started preparing for this stream, I could see that there was like 4 logs that had completed P10S, and like a whole bunch of people have completed P9S. I happen to know that allegedly the 27th world 27th is in our Discord community server, or at least one of the 8 on P9S. But the fact that only like 4 groups, like an hour ago maybe, had logged beating P10S publicly logged that they had beaten P10S, means that there's probably not many that have. And I could see like one stream that like caught my eye that had P11S happening. So race is still on. And hey Coco. And another thing that especially happened today is that we have acquired new emotes. If you are a member of the channel, you will have access to some different emotes that, because we have very limited space, that have come at the sacrifice of the old emotes. But if you write, I believe you can write, you should be able to write, let me just see, okay. Fascinating, it's not really helping me here. Okay, so the auto-completion in the chat is not helpful for these new emotes, but as you can see, Umia and Coco posted, we have 6 new emotes that both include a popcorn emote, which was something that I remember someone requested a while back, and then we of course have a limit break emote, and then we have a few others that just really nice. We have a remake of the Whoopsie, which is a lot more generally useful, I think. So I hope the members will enjoy those emotes, and if you also want to be able to play around with them, then they are one of the perks of being a member of the channel. That is how YouTube works. Having more members also means that I can put more emotes in there, and we have like 16 on the Discord, so if there's more members, I have emotes. They are ready. Right. So, as we have talked about previously, the reason why we go as Dark Knight in these challenges at this level is because Dark Knight's Soul Leader means that Dark Knight actually has the best self-healing without having to compromise its damage. Because Gunbreaker has to like drop the step 3 combo, and they can't use Burst Strike if they need healing whatsoever. And Warriors, while they might possibly be able to outdamage a Dark Knight, it doesn't even matter because they do less healing, like just no contest, there's nothing they can do about it. Like the slightly extra burst health from Thrill of Battle does not make up for that. So the fact that Dark Knight does good damage and also has the best healing is really difficult. Maybe when Gunbreaker gets Aurora in Aurum Vale, maybe we'll try Gunbreaker then. Coco says, did all the emotes set you back a lot? I think it was a fair price. Absolutely a fair price. I absolutely recommend the person. Let me just I put a link to Twitter of the person that actually made these new emotes. There you can also see the price. So you can guess times 16 what I paid for it. But I can afford that. So that's fine. I think it was a great thing to have for the community, and I also realized that I'm absolutely not capable of making very good looking emotes myself, so there you go. Wait a minute. There's something wrong with this item. Ah, now it works. And then it breaks the portrait where the weapon wasn't even on. And this one is also broken. What have I been doing? Upgrading my relic weapons and then not dying them. Coco says, how did you find them? I specifically chose to... I tried to seek out like artist tags on Twitter, and Nisa happens to try their best to like seek out others. So they appeared, and I saw that they didn't have like a huge following, which means that they probably don't have that many customers. And then I saw that their art style was basically exactly what I had in mind. Like I had basically envisioned most of these emotes close to what they are actually. So that was it. I basically went out with the target of commissioning a smaller creator, because they probably want/need the work more. And then it just so happens that I find like the perfect person to work with anyway, so overall, awesome experience. So it's not easy to find this. I think I was very lucky. Right. We don't need these buttons here, so we can make space for some different potions. Hey Shadow, how are you doing? Gogo says, maybe I ask them for a chibi of my character. Could do that. I'm going to receive a chibi of my character soon. And that's just not finished yet. So if you want to see how that turns out before you do that, you can do that. I don't think these echo drops are going to matter because it just blocks me out of Unleash. Blind might be good. Antidote, maybe. So the thing that I'm thinking is going to be a problem in this particular dungeon is the first boss allegedly spawns more ads than you have ever seen. You usually don't... apparently it can summon like 3 ads throughout the fight, according to very old, a very, very old guide, I believe. But I've only ever seen one. So that's a little scary. The second boss is the real fear, because it can put a really, really mean dot on you. And if you're not a healer, you can't do anything about it. And it's like 200 damage every 3 seconds, which is... like, just imagine there's an extra mob swinging at you. Sharo says, doing well. I hope you don't think ill about our conversation in the general chat of your Discord. What did you say that was wrong? Did you say anything bad? I don't remember you saying anything that would be a problem, Sharo. What, are you referring to something specific? Coco says, you can skip so much of this dungeon, so only bosses should take time. I mean, you can skip most of the ads, most of the packs between the first and the second boss, but I'm pretty sure the rest of it is mostly mandatory. Like, the exit gate, like the exit way in this room isn't even spawned until you've killed all of the ads. I can't see it, certainly. But I agree that usually it's the bosses, and ads are never really a problem. If you can kill one of the ads before you die, then the ads are irrelevant, because you can just kill one, die, come back, kill one, die, come back, and eventually you'll win. Whereas if you're having trouble with a boss, then you have to get it in the one try. Now this pack might be a little scary on that subject, because we have to fight all of these at once. Sharo says, it's my fear of people that lets me excuse my actions even when they are okay. Like, not knowing stuff or being falsely informed. I mean, if it's the conversation about Holy that we were talking about the other day, you can learn at any point. I have told this before, but like, I have a friend that completed all of Endwalker, not knowing what the difference is between an ability and a weapon skill. So just because you have reached max level, you can even have completed all non-extreme savage content, and still it wouldn't surprise me if there was some like basic piece of information that you don't know, because it never happened to come up, you didn't need it. So the way I think you should think about this, Sharo, is that you learned something. Like that is what matters. When we're having those conversations on the Discord, for me, if you learn something from a conversation, then and you like, and we had a nice conversation, then that's perfect. Sometimes I learn something. The important bit is that even if we disagree on something, that's okay, as long as we like talk respectfully to each other. Then I'm not going to be mad at you. Hey Gilano, how are you doing? Kasari says, it took me embarrassingly long to find out what the direct hit stat actually does. And I had done multiple savage tiers at some point. At some point. Exactly. I have a friend who had done an ultimate when I released my first edition of my like low-level warrior guide, like over a year ago. That guide includes the tip, which you may have seen in other guides as well, of my guides, that if you use sprint before you enter combat, it lasts twice as long. That friend, which again, ultimate raider, right, had completed an ultimate. They didn't know this. Why didn't they know this? Because you don't need that in a savage, like in an ultimate raid, or a savage raid, or an extreme. It is completely irrelevant information in that content, so of course they wouldn't know that. But the principle is that you can learn something. Everyone can learn something. And like, one of the big advantages from my perspective is that when I post a video, there's sometimes something that isn't entirely accurate. Or maybe there's some information that I'm lacking. Like, for example, multiple people on my recent video about stats, multiple black mages were a little offended that I so quickly skipped over the fact that crit black mage is like has a lot of nuance, and that in some cases it is more mobile than a spell speed black mage. So we had that conversation, and we, like, for the most part, everyone involved learned something. Coco says, joke's on you, I'm a slow learner. Well, that's okay. Gilano says, I'm okay. Did something happen, Gilano? Do you want to... if you want to talk about it, I mean, in my position of a streamer, I suppose it's a case of would you like to share it with the class, and I mean that in a friendly way. I hope you're doing well. I hope that it gets better if it's if something happened. It's also fine if you're just feeling okay and there's nothing wrong. Ymir says, I still don't know what half the mechanics are called. That one is also a little bit brutal. As someone who isn't like a hardcore savage raider, I'm honestly still not entirely certain what a limit cut mechanic is. But apparently it is something that hardcore savage raiders know precisely what is. Like, they use it as a common lingo for specific mechanic type. It works, like, if I would ever need the information, I would just look it up, right? And that got a little bit close. Yeah, that is very common, Ymir. There's actually also, like... It's a common problem. I hear a lot of people say that they're not... they don't know what things are called. Like, mechanics. Action names. And stuff like that. So... It's something... everyone learns differently. I have considered if I could get like maybe like a collaboration with some other streamers. We could have like a game show called Guess the Tooltip, and then I'll just like maybe have the icon, maybe the entire tooltip description, and then just have like blanked out the like the name and go guess it. I think that would be really funny. But that would require me to take contact to other streamers, which is scary. Would you imagine? You know, no, I just want to be sure that because I feel like maybe I made a little bit. I feel like maybe I made a joke out of that. I didn't mean to do that. I really mean that if it's something you would like to share or talk about, you're very welcome to. If there's something wrong, and if it's just you're having like an day, that is also perfectly fine. But I do care. That's what I'm trying to say. And here we get the first big challenge. Can we kill this? Can we ignore the ads? Maybe we can kill this. We probably can't ignore the ads. One of the ads heals the boss. Kai cares poster. It uses silence, but that is completely irrelevant because my only spell is an AoE spell that I will not use anyway. We want to save the blind for if the ad makes the damage overwhelming. We also, preferably, if we can get away with minimal cooldown usage, we also want all of the cooldowns so when there's ads. And then just rely on just potions. For as long as we can. And also hold back on the MP usage so that we can burst the ad better. Oh, here comes the soldiers. There's 4 soldiers. Here cometh soldier boys. Oh, they're easy to kill. Excellent. And they're not that strong. That is good. Okay, we didn't have to use... We used Shadow Wall. Probably didn't need to do that. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us with mandibles. There's the guard. So normally when you do this with like a group, you only see the marshal that spawns at the end. I believe because you do so much damage that you skip them. Ow. More soldiers. According to the guide that I found, the ads were supposed to spawn like semi-randomly. So this is surprising. I don't know if we can slow the ads. We can. We can even slow the boss. Oh, my blind potions are too weak. That's why they're not working. We cannot stun the boss. Alright then. That makes it even more important to rush down the ads, so they don't get to benefit from the speed boost. This princess has a lot of attendants. Not sure if it's actually wise for me to use Unleashed for that, if the ads are not that strong. But I think it's fine, we're like keeping up with the damage. We're actually reaching a point where I'm wondering if we should ignore the guard. I'm not going to, since we are basically going to be able to beat this boss by just outlasting it with this strategy. So there's no reason to risk it. But this isn't the boss that I was anticipating to be hard, just for the record. It's the second boss that I'm expecting that we will possibly have trouble with. Nailed it. See, Gilano says everything will be fine, thanks for the kindness. About the attack's name, it's an interesting experience when you play in a language for years and then change to another language. Sometimes the name of the attacks are better described in a language than in another. Not even talking about Starboard, Larboard. Oh yeah, I remember, I heard that in every other language other than English, Starboard, Larboard is basically just the classic left-right type of mechanic, like named, just like all other mechanics like it. But specifically in the English translation, that mechanic is Starboard Larboard because, I don't know, Koji Fox thought it was funny. It is really funny. It is absolutely hilarious. But it's not very helpful. And for those that don't know what this is, P11, the fight where you fight... no, it's not P11, it's O11. The fight with Omega. Because it's an ancient, allegedly ancient piece of technology, the translation was made old to reflect that. It's an old battle cruiser of some sort, is the logic. Oh, and look, we're at the second boss. So therefore it made sense. But I believe so what I do is I just say Larboard is left and Starboard is not left. So enjoy that for a reminder. Umia says, on an unrelated note, the P12 music slaps. It does. The only reason why I made that joke about using the P9, P10 music at the start of the stream is because I won it when I did my normal re-clear today. I didn't like shell out money to prepare that joke. I just also thought it was funny just before the stream. Right, so the scary thing about this boss is specifically that it has a dot that can be removed with Isuna that hits harder than its auto attacks, basically. That's it. So if we can anticipate that, it would be nice to use a defensive cooldown for it. There it is. That is not the time you want to see that. Ow. I didn't manage to get away in time. This is going to be rough, because I'm pretty sure it can apply that at range. I wonder if it's going to keep doing it. The fact that it didn't do it this time is huge for me, because what was really killing me now was that the dot just got free reign to hurt me. Oh, there it is, while I couldn't heal. But for the rest of this fight, we're going to be fighting on the back foot. I'm not going to reach full health again, I don't think. Oh boy. Well, we're dead. Can't do anything. I'm just going to die to the dot. Oh boy. Crap. I think I can do that a little bit better. If I'm a bit more careful with the counterattacks from the boss, we might be able to make our health stretch for longer. Oh, awesome. We need to run past the ads again, I think. Or the optional packs again. Yup. That is suddenly a reason to consider clearing, so that you don't have to do that gauntlet twice. But that is true, Gilano, that if you've played the game in a different language, you're going to learn the attacks in that language. That is also why earlier today I actually looked up, checked out a stream to just get a glimpse on P9S, and when I saw a stream where the voice lines were in Japanese, I was completely lost. Because, and this is an interesting trick when bosses have voice lines. If a boss has no voice lines, then you're probably either going to learn 1. The name of the attack that you want to dodge, or 2. What it sounds or looks like. If the boss has a voice line, then you're going to remember the voice line. And possibly just the voice line. And let me just tell you, if you check the names of the attacks in P9S, if you thought Sage action names were unfair, then you've seen nothing yet. You are not fun, giant tunnel worm. I don't appreciate it. Cheryl says, did you try controllers once? Nope. I have never played the game with a controller. I have a very, very general oh, it actually wasted a cast of the dot right there. I have a very general understanding of how the controller system works, like the crossbars and that, but I've never used it. And much of my cursory knowledge of how controllers work stems from the fact that a long time ago at this point, someone asked me on one of my Dragoon guides how they would go about key binding on a controller. So I sat, I had time. I had time at that very moment. I was visiting family and was a little bored. I was well, I could sit down and figure that out. So I figured out how it works and wrote them a complete setup for how they could go about setting up their controller for playing Dragoon. How I would go about it if I was playing on a controller. I'm not playing on a controller, and the prospect of playing on a controller, thinking about doing it is it would be a nightmare for me. but that is partly because I'm really bad at playing any game on a controller. Like, I played through all of Monster Hunter World back when it like was completely new, and played it so much that I completely ran out of stuff to do. Like, absolutely completely ran out of interesting things I wanted to do in the game. But I wasn't done with Monster Hunter, so I bought a Switch and Generations Ultimate to play more. But the reason why I quit or gave up was because I simply couldn't deal with the controller. So I'm not a strong controller player. Emir says, a tip, circle it constantly helps. That's what I'm doing. The reason why I'm running in like almost like a star shape, or I don't know, in like a snowflake shape, is because if I run around it, then it has to turn every time it has to attack, which takes it like a fraction of a second. It's an extremely small defensive benefit, but if I step away from it, if its next auto attack happens to be during the time where I'm stepping away from the boss, then it has to run up to me to do the attack first. It is like, if any of you have played classic World of Warcraft, an optimization strategy for warriors is to slow the enemy, smack them with your axe, and then run away. And then when your auto attack is ready again, run in, smack them with the axe, and then run away again, so that you only exchange one hit at a time, so you both get a turn equally. But the problem is that when we've tried to do shenanigans with these bosses as a Dark Knight previously, one of the tricks I've sometimes relied on is also just running away for a while, and wait on potion. But the thing is that if I'm doing this running back and forth motion, for the most part I can out-heal the physical damage the boss is giving me, and then some. But the damage over time effect is just too much. Nobly says, hello, just started playing over the weekend, got 49 with Summoner. I'm probably going to switch to Marauder. It seems like the easiest tank to play. If you feel like Warrior looks good to you, what you can... so, the way that I view it is that between Paladin and Warrior, Paladin has like the simplest rotation until like really high level, whereas Warrior's rotation is a lot more involved. You have like resource stockpiling and stuff like that, a proper burst, and this becomes a lot easier at level 70. Which means that from level 1 to 69, nice, you have like a gradually more and more complicated rotation, and then at level 70 the game just goes, don't need that. Forget all that. Now it's free. You don't have to stockpile anything. Just go for it, man. Which makes it a lot easier. But the benefit is that Paladin is a lot weaker defensively for a... it's weaker than the other tanks defensively until like level 84. 84. Meanwhile, Warrior becomes the strongest tank defensively in a dungeon context, at the very least, at level 56. Like, it's not like it was weak before, but level 56 it gets Raw Intuition, which is overpowered. So that would make Warrior the easiest tank to play, like especially once you reach level 70. So if you think Warrior looks interesting, play Warrior. Absolutely. I'm going to give this one more shot. If that doesn't work, we're going to go back out and then see if we can get to this point with Scholar. And if we can do that, then this might be possible. And the reason why Scholar is suddenly possible over Sage is because Scholar will have Ruin too. Cheryl says, you don't need to own a PS controller for PC. Any controller could work, but Xbox and PlayStation are mostly recommended. Yeah, of course. Welcome, Knopley. And Cheryl also says, I understand the problem with controller. When I was younger, I had that too, because I had weird controllers like Wii or GameCube. My first time with PlayStation was a nightmare. I grew up with PlayStation. It's just that then I got, you know, a PC, and then I played a lot more on PC. I want to remind you that I've used this kind of mouse since I was like 15 or 16, I think. So it's like something that I have put a lot of my life into, like, really getting good at. This says, I come from WoW and I was told I would like Summoner. I just don't like the playstyle. I'm also interested in Reaper, but I'm only playing the trial right now. What class did you play in WoW? Because I also came from WoW. The thing is, I came from WoW and loved Summoner. In Stormblood, if you watch, I have like a whole, I have like it's not finished yet, but I have a video series on the history of jobs in Final Fantasy XIV, and one of the key points of the Summoner one is that it's literally Warlock from World of Warcraft. That's what it started as. It was literally World of Warcraft Warlock. So you might see why I would find, like a World of Warcraft player would find that welcoming. But nowadays, it's not like that. So that's why I'm saying, what class did you play in WoW? Also specialization, if you have that. Because then I might be able to advise you better. Enhancement Shaman, because the abilities look so cool. I also played Fury Warrior. Do you like tanking, or would you rather be a DPS? Because I can see why, if you said you like Enhancement Shaman, why someone would advise you to go for Summoner, because one of the big things Summoner has is like extremely flashy attacks. It's just a lot of players would say that it is not very it's not the most exciting job to play for a lot of players. I think it's fun. Personally, I really like Summoner. There are a lot of very minute things you can do to optimize, especially like closer to max level. But at low level, let me tell you, like in the next few days, I'm going to be releasing like remakes of my Summoner guides. And let me say, the biggest optimization you can do at like level 50 is to use auto attacks. As Ymir said, or Lugstar, also known as Ymir, said book smacks. He also loved playing Demon Hunter. So, if you really like flashy attacks, then I would recommend Red Mage. But if you're on the free trial, then Red Mage is not an option. Red Mage is known for its extremely flashy attacks, and it has a relatively deep rotation. Even if a lot of players would disagree, there is a lot you can do to optimize it. And it also has random procs, so if you liked that aspect from World of Warcraft, then that will feel very reminiscent. If you want to play a DPS, then I think like the flashiest you can get at relatively low level would be like Ninja. But then that follows up the question, do you mind that the job is complicated? Because Ninja is not the easiest. I would say if you want something really flashy on the free trial, then I would say Ninja. Especially because that's also a melee DPS. I have like guides on Ninja, so if you find it very overwhelming, you can check those out if you like. That is true, Gelano, that you can just change job if you want to. I think the primary problem when you're like playing through the MSQ for the first time, the main scenario quest, and you don't like the job you're playing, is that maybe you want to like continue the main quest, but now you have to level up a new job, which puts you back a lot, but you were just doing the main quest. So from that perspective, having to level up another job because you didn't like that one either that could quickly lead to burnout. So I can understand why it would be nice to like get it right first try. But yeah, I would say if you don't mind tanking, Warrior's pretty good. It's a very, very, very easy job to play. If you don't want to tank, then I would say try Ninja. But if you don't want it to be complicated, then I can't help you, because Monk is really complicated, Ninja is really complicated, Dragoon is not that complicated, but it becomes really complicated at higher level. Summoner is not complicated, as you said, you don't like that. Black Mage is a mage, like it is the closest you get to like an arcane mage from World of Warcraft. I don't think you would enjoy that if you're like a melee player. Like if you don't want it to be too complicated but you want it to be flashy, then I would say try a tank. Like Warrior maybe. So it depends on what you want or don't want to see. Hey Kazaya, how are you doing? Right, so we try again with we go again with Scholar this time. You never had tanxiety. Well, then you could do that. Then absolutely you could try. The worst that can happen is that you don't like it. So a particularly scary thing we're going to run into with Scholar is that the first boss can silence. But that's pretty much it. Besides, I'm doing good, and I'm doing very well. As I mentioned earlier, though I've been waiting for like a little bit over a week for a package of emotes that I commissioned to come in, and they came in today. And today, which actually happens to be the 2-year anniversary of this YouTube channel, by the way. So I'm just going to be casting Ruin 2 so that we can kite everything. Thank you! Happy birthday to the channel! This is actually uh-oh, I found a wall. I've also found that it seems like my pet isn't casting as many heals as I would like if it's just chasing me. This is going to be a while. So, you might be thinking, wait, if you couldn't survive the damage from the worm boss on a tank, how would it work with a healer that takes way more damage? Well, the worm boss didn't seem to do Like, the problem wasn't that it was doing a huge amount of damage, the problem was that it was doing more damage than I could heal. That was the only problem. Speaking of problem... Ow. 2 hours later. Well, fortunately, we don't have to deal with most of the ads in the dungeon. This is also still way better than in Bravelock's Longstop. Huh, that's really interesting. Don't know if you guys saw that, but it seems like my pet actually like chased me around a corner to heal me. So long, in fact, we had to hire a new narrator. 2 hours later. I found a Warrior of Light. Dun 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 dun. It always is like this when we're going in with a healer. It's like, if you thought that we could do hyper janky kiting cheese with a tank, then you had seen nothing. Ow! That sand pillar spawned on me. Dun 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 dun. Oh right. Pray return to the waking sands. I switched to Scholar because we could not defeat the worm boss, the second one. Which of course means that we have to get to the worm boss again. And then the follow-up question becomes, can we beat the ant boss? And if it's this, if it's difficult in this way, then the answer is probably yes. The scary part is, as I said, that the first boss, the princess, can silence, and I cannot interrupt it this time around. And we don't have any AoE whatsoever. So all of those ads, we have to either kite them, which is going to give us some war flashbacks to Yellow Pelican, or we have to kill them. They weren't that tanky, so that might be an option. The problem is that because it's going to take us like 8 attacks to kill all 4 of these soldiers, we might not be able to kill them before she summons more. And that was kind of the problem with Yellow Pelican. I really love that popcorn emote, by the way. It's really good. Oh dear. Where's the candy? It was replaced with the emote of Kai eating an etherite. Because we only had 6 slots in total, and I thought that that was better. Yes, that one. I think that one is also called Candy now. Something like that. I can't really check while I'm kiting this guy. The story behind the light bulb emotes is that back when we got enough members that I had space for like 1 or 2 more emotes, I asked what would you guys want to see, and I think I spoke with Neil Rory about it, and they suggested like a light bulb, something like that. Sharo says, random question, how's your opinion on logging? I think that logging can be good for learning and, like, you know, understanding the game. The problem is that a lot of players use logging incorrectly and or does not actually understand how to read a log, but think that they know how to read a log, which leads to a lot of misunderstandings. For example, this is something that came up with the Black Mage thing with stats that I mentioned earlier. Some Black Mage players, some players in general, believe that critical hit Black Mages, so what some players would refer to as a slow Black Mage, is objectively superior to a spell speed Black Mage, as in anything a slow mage, like anything a fast Black Mage can do, a slow Black Mage can do better. Now, where would this observation stem from? This comes from the fact that 100% of the highest performing Black Mages, according to FF logs, are critical hit based slow Black Mages. Why is that? That's because if you stack spell speed, then you will have a very consistent amount of DPS, because you don't rely on random crits to do the heavy lifting for you. You just have to do the damage, do the rotation correctly. Critical hit Black Mages rely more on getting lucky rolls and getting a lot of crits and things like that. But that also means that the variance in each try for a slow mage is actually a lot bigger than the variance of a fast Black Mage. What does that mean? That means that if both a spell speed and a critical hit Black Mage does an average of like 95% of the DPS any Black Mage could do, and that of course means that the most ever possible would be 100%, then if the crit Black Mage can do those 100%, then the spell speed might be able to, like, between 94 and 96%, for example, like super tight range of damage. Whereas the crit one would do 90 to 100%. Like, it would, half the time, it would actually be worse than the spell speed one. But when you're looking at rankings, logs, you only see the best one. So out of 100 tries, the logged one that is in the top ranking is the one where the Black Mage rolled the dice and got Yahtzee every time. Which makes you think that crit is superior for Black Mage. The reality is that the damage difference between a fast and a slow Black Mage is so extremely tiny that what is better can boil down to boss mechanics or even playstyle of the individual player. Like, that's how specific it can get. So suggesting that crit is like end all be all, always superior, is incorrect. But if you don't know how to read a log or understand that there are details that might not be reflected in a log, then you might convince yourself of something false by doing so. So my opinion on logging is that it is a good thing, but a lot of people use it wrong. I hope that makes sense, Sharo. And logging, Ymir, is first step is that you need to use Fight Club tools, illegal tools that are not actually allowed by the developers, which can get you banned, so use at your own risk. And it's called Fight Club tools for a reason. Don't talk about them, then you don't get banned. But you can use those to basically as a DPS meter, right? So if you've played World of Warcraft, you know what a DPS meter is. You can see precisely how much damage you have done in a fight, and the log can also see that. And then you can post this log to a website. You can choose to make it private if you like, but a lot of people don't. And if they don't, other players that like have done content with you and have logged the content, then like you would actually be able to look up your character and find people that have logged you. And I know that people have logged my character without my consent, because people don't ask about consent for that. Because I've seen people mention that I only have normal logs that I haven't done myself. So that's interesting. Nobly says, I had to take a phone call. I appreciate your input. I will try Warrior and the other melee jobs to see what I like. Do you recommend just finishing the MSQ on the trial and switching jobs? If you don't like the job that you have now, then no. I would recommend that either you continue the main quest a little bit while you're leveling up your other job efficiently. I have like a leveling guide, but most of the things require that you're level 50. You can use some of it, but do what you like. But if you don't like the job, then take note that the main quest is hundreds of hours long. Just park the main quest for a bit, level up a new job, and enjoy it. You don't have to like stick to the job. Dun 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 dun. Oh, I actually ran out of range of the boss for a moment there. Uh-oh. Oh, it's only 5 seconds. Then we're just going to outrun it. Guys, I think I found the dumbest way to to solo content in the game. That is also true, Mirage Owl. If you have the road to 80 buff, then it's going to be a breeze to level up again. But regardless of whether it's going to be a breeze, I still stick by you should not play a job you don't like because you're stuck with it or something. Actually, if we can outrun the boss itself, then I don't see very much reason to kill the ads. So how are you guys doing? I'm just soloing a level appropriate boss. Ow. The guide said that I should kill the ads because they hit hard, or more importantly, the guard hits hard because it has an OGCD attack that hits hard that it can use, but it uses it very rarely, so it doesn't matter. The only ad that I care about dealing with is if it summons a marshal. Okay, so apparently it does not have a mob limit unlike the Yellow Pelican, as far as I can see. Let me just check something. How many hits does it take? Oh! Well, that tells me something very, very interesting. How about you? A little bit more to deal with that one, but... What I discovered is that my dot can kill the ads in a single cast, which makes it very easy to deal with them. There's quite a lot of ads. Try spinning. This is just like Yellow Pelican, but imagine if the arena was like 3 times bigger, and the boss does not have an OGCD tank buster that hits like a freight train. And also, Scholar has an instant attack, so... Yes, cast haste on the ad. It's casting silence again. I think I discovered a problem. If there's no ads, then the boss will cast silence on me instead of casting haste on them. Oh, the marshal has spawned. Where are you? I don't want you to cast heals on the boss. And you're extremely tanky. Wonderful. A new guy. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, okay. You made your point. So, Princess, you better not summon more of those. This is a lot slower than when we went in with Dark Knight, I'll say that much, but it is very, very easy. Aside from the fact that every time I come an inch too close to the mobs, they almost instantly kill me off. And apparently she does not care about there being ads. She's going to silence me anyway. Ooh, boy. Hello. Can you stop with that, Princess? You should use like a speed boost on your friend so that they could catch up with me. That would actually be really useful, you know. Imagine if you had that. That would be pretty massive. Hmm. Riveting content! I need to have like a really silly music to play for these kinds of situations. That is how it goes sometimes. It also can happen with Blue Mage, actually. When I soloed Temple of the Fist for the first time ages ago, I believe it was Temple of the Fist, there was a random bug. And apparently it was a bug because it was actually changed to not be like that after I'd done it. When I did Temple of the Fist, basically all of the random mobs in the dungeon were immune to Deep Freeze. And if any of you have a Blue Mage, you will know that Deep Freeze is one of the spells that you get from Kotter's Cry. And this spell stuns all enemies for like 12 or 15 seconds. Which is perfectly balanced, of course. But all of the mobs in that dungeon were immune to it. Which, shocking everyone, made it a lot harder. But the final boss of the dungeon also has an attack that puts you... basically sets you to like 1 HP, and the way that Blue Mage normally heals itself is by using White Wind, which heals you for 100% of your current HP. So if you have one, it doesn't work that well, so you had to bring other healing spells. But to survive, you also needed to use tank mimicry. So your healing spells were really weak, which meant that I spent significant amounts of that fight just spam healing myself, and then hitting the boss with an attack that did, like, if it did less damage, it would do negative damage, because it gave me mana back. Cheryl says, am I allowed to use your stream to create a meme using Benny Hill? I think it's going to be copyright claimed if you put Benny Hill music over it. But you are very welcome to make clips of things that happen on stream. If you do, I would love for you to actually show me so that I can enjoy it with you. Maybe even like on stream react to it with you guys. We can see the funnies that I come up with, or the funnies you come up with me. I would love to do that. Like Orion that recently made the clip from the Pandemonium stream, where I was like, oh, this is going pretty good. And immediately someone dies. Problem solved. There you go. And we can even use this downtime to shield ourselves. It's very, very efficient now, although we're doing astounding DPS. Are you seeing this? Wow! Oh yeah, if you have a shield, it doesn't even work. Okay, this worm is a tanky boy. It is an outright chonker. Good thing there's only 3 bosses, because we're going to need like a third of the timer for each boss. You see it here first. Swift casted Isuna. look, we're playing GTA now. Oh no. Ow. Good call with the shield. This is, you know, the funny thing is that when we did this strategy in Braveflock's long stop, it didn't work that well. Because the arenas were typically too small to make it really effective. But the boss arenas in this dungeon are insanely big. So I can just like run in the outer ring of the arena and it just works. It just works. I'm turning into the spiffing Brit as we speak. Scholar is perfectly balanced. Oh wait, it would be Scholar is perfectly balanced with no exploits. Is that it? One third of the way. I think that took like 2 minutes. Final Fantasy XIV is a perfectly balanced game with no exploits whatsoever. I think he actually made that video. Where's your Yorkshire tea? I don't actually have Yorkshire tea. I have fruit tea. I believe this is mango. Why what? I like fruit tea. I also like it with a lot of sugar in it, so you might be very curious as to whether I'm more like small Kai than you'd think. You need to start drinking Monster. I think that is a terrible idea. When I have had coffee, I get like absolutely crazy anxious and worried about everything. It's good for waking up, but then I have that feeling all day. It's very consistent, so I don't drink coffee that often. Ravio says fruit tea is nice. I'm glad you agree. Now, I'm willing to admit that my preferences might be particularly strange, because one of my favorites is melon fruit tea, which tastes, you know, like hyper-synthetic melon bubblegum or something like that. I like it, but I don't understand if people don't like it. Coco says he crashed the market. Oh yeah, that was something that Spiff did, right? That was his Final Fantasy XIV video. I didn't see it, so I don't actually know what he did precisely, but my guess, without seeing it, is he bought an item from a vendor and posted it at a markup on the market board. And if that is correct, then that would be the reason why I didn't watch it. Because I thought, no, the market isn't broken on Final Fantasy XIV. You've just discovered the loophole that a lot of players already know. I believe a Zip on a regular basis uses that particular trick to make money. Tracy says coffee is my drink of choice. Another tea drinker. I agree. Excellent. Oh wait, you said coffee, and I didn't read it. You said, I just read tea. Another coffee drinker. That is perfectly fine too. Imagine me actually reading what I'm reading, right? Coffee is... I'm just saying, nothing against coffee. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. In my defense of reading that wrong, I'm in a very, very heated battle. Imagine reading. Reading is overrated. Thank you. And hey, Pokeshack. Hope you're doing well. Coco says, did you guys know that Monster has an espresso drink? Is that, like, with extra caffeine in it? Is like even more concentrated energy drink we're talking about here? I'm doing well, Pokeshack. I hope you're also doing well. As you can see, Kai here is getting her weekly cardio. She's getting in her 200 kilometers run of the week. Sharo says, I like tea and energy drinks. Coffee is too bitter for me. I wouldn't eat 99% milk on 1% coffee. So I'm good with it. It's just nothing for me in particular. I think like if it's the bitterness, then you could probably make it a lot more palatable with some extra sugar. Running more than a tank in all A Realm Reborn in a day. I think this fight has gone on for like 8 minutes now. Rooibos. I don't know what that is. Is it like a specific type of tea, or is it like a specific company? Close to no MP? We're fine. We're fine. We'll use potions to heal ourselves. We just need enough to use Asuna and we're good. Carbuncle will save us. I'm just using Adlocurium because we're so far in the fight that I don't want to risk me predicting the mechanic wrong and then dying to it. It's too costly if we mess it up because of that, of being too greedy with mana. Carbuncle, in patch 6.4 you can glamour your fairy. You can turn your fairy into so it's summon Eos now, only Eos. But you can use Pet Glamour to turn it into Selene or any Carbuncle. So that means that Carbuncle, Emerald, Topaz, and Ruby Carbuncle. You cannot turn it into the Eggies though. That's for some reason off limits. Similarly, summoners cannot turn their Carbuncle into Selene or Eos. But yeah, so me, a very, very big Carbuncle appreciator, of course. Frame 1 turned Eos into Carbuncle when unlocked. Carbuncle is from the Lost Civilization of Nim. No, Carbuncle is from a mathematics book. Are you serious? 0.1% HP. Yeah. Apparently the knockback, the pull-in doesn't do anything if I block it completely. Wish one could make the fairy into Bahamut. That would be good. I'm still a little bit cross that you cannot glamour your like your Ifrit, Titan, or Garuda 2s at level 90. Ravio says, when I googled Carbuncle the other day, I did not get the results I was looking for. When you Google Carbuncle, make sure to include Final Fantasy, or you will be scarred for life. Yeah, exactly, Pokeshack. The worm won in his heart. Mm-hmm. Ow. Ow. This is incredibly broken that this even works. I'm just saying this. If you ever hear anyone say that that kiting mobs does not actually help for reducing damage as a tank, just show them this stream. Cheryl says, now everybody can blender their Carbuncle as Scholar to switch to Sage. Oh no, you don't need to do anything to your Carbuncle. You just put it on a small vacation. I have been playing Scholar a lot more since the patch, just so that I can use Carbuncle. Because it's the only option, the only way. Ironically, Carbuncle uses way more animations as Scholar than it does as Summoner. Because as Summoner, it does like 2 things. Well, 3 things. It gets summoned, it gets desummoned, and it uses Radiant Aegis. But with Scholar, it has like an animation where it like waggles its paws at you. That is the healing spell, Embrace. Pets guy's head. This bad boy can kite so many mobs. What's your favorite Carbuncle? My favorite is well, my favorite is actually like of the Carbuncles. I really like the blue one, but that is partly because, in my opinion, it looks the most like clean. It looks like they really like freshed up the look of the blue one here when they reworked Summoner. So the other ones look a little bit older somehow, but that's me personally. I really like the red one as well, so. Alright, I don't want to fight you in this small room. I'm just going to leave. I'm going down to this long corridor. That has worked well for me. Bye. Have a real good time. Goodbye. I actually need to stop running, otherwise my Carbuncle can't actually heal me. Ow. Yeah. Oh, what I meant, Pokeshack, is that it is genuinely viable to kite mobs in a desperate situation in like a dungeon. Like if your healer dies, running away does work. If your healer's falling behind and can't keep you alive, running away actually works. I like when Endwalker was new, the level 81 dungeon, the final pull in that dungeon can be really tough for some players, and especially when Endwalker was new, a lot of players didn't like expect it, which made it a lot harder. And even with Warrior, I had to run at some point during the pull to survive. Right, Popejack, that's true. There's absolutely going to be a person that will ignore the fact and just use the argument that, oh, you're a healer, so it doesn't count. Wouldn't have worked as well if you were a not healer, 'cause reasons. Guess what, guys? We're going on a little run. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I did not mean to jump into them. That was a terrible idea. Yeah, true, Emir. They have finally have had some voice acting in the newest raid. Just in the story stuff, too. Very nice. Excuse me, ow. Imagine if we could use the hallway for the boss fights. Clearly, they closed the boss arenas because it would make it would mean that Scholar's too strong if they didn't. Yeah, imagine the fight with the boss if I could do it like this. Just run through the entire dungeon and just kite it. Like, my pet isn't really doing very much healing because it can't keep up. Why don't you use the heal over time from your carbuncle? Because it has a 15 yawn range, and if I'm running like this, I'm going to outrun the carbuncle, so that will miss. So that's why. I could use it as I'm like turning a corner, but I just haven't, because usually I'm not low enough for it to be needed. I'll just like buy a new stack of potions if we run low. But it's a good point. Popejack suggests that the pools of ice that the boss summons do not despawn. I'm pretty sure they despawn eventually. But we'll see what we do about that when we get to that. And if you're wondering why I'm trying to jump after each cast, that is because, as you saw before, sometimes I run into the mobs because of the automatic flip every time I cast. But if you're mid-air, then you keep your momentum. So it makes it easier for me to cast. Sharo says, is one allowed to visit the FC house viewers? It looked pretty. The house that I hang out at is actually my house. My free company only owns a medium. I have the large one. But you're very, very welcome to visit it. I cannot remember the exact address of it. So if anyone in the chat can remember, or perhaps I believe Coco might still be standing next to it. If you could just paste the address in the chat, that would be perfectly fine. My house. My house! You can also visit the free company house. You're absolutely welcome to visit both. You're welcome to visit both. You should also be able to, since you should have... Oh wait, you have Small Kai on friends list. Never mind. But otherwise you would be able to see him. Yeah, I bought the house in the most recent expansion of housing. You can change that when you come out of the dungeon, of course. What world? Louisoix. Of course, it's on Louisoix because this character is on Louisoix. Louisoix. And now we have reached the boss. So, the scary part about this boss is every time it casts Dragon's Voice, we have to like panic sprint into melee range. But everything else should be fine. Emir says, I didn't know that. Oh, that's okay. It's just, I believe when I'm not in a dungeon or anything, it should say Louisoix up here. But that could obviously also be because I'm just happen to be there. Alright, Pokejack, enjoy your exercise. Enjoy your exercise, I should say, but you're leaving, you're saying me enjoy exercise, thank you. Although, if you do go exercise, enjoy that. Right, let's see. So it has the left and right breath, completely irrelevant because we can just kite it. Ram's voice, irrelevant because we can kite it. It has the ice pools, doesn't matter because we will just run around them. It might be a problem. If they don't despawn as suggested, then they might become a problem later. But everything else is pretty simple. It would be scary if it does the chasing orb and also Dragon's Voice, or it does Dragon's Voice while it happens to be on top of the ice pools. But for the most part, this boss can be cheesed with the power of running away from it. Let's see if we can start the fight real good with a big Allocuium crit. Since we have the time. I'm going to guess that even if I killed it with just bio, it would not take 40 minutes. Coco says, I hate this boss, it always kills me. Well, if you pay close attention, this will be your speed rundown of how this boss works. Because we're going to see every single mechanic for like 10 plus minutes, assuming the boss doesn't just flat out kill me out of nowhere. The power of good legs. Oh, looks like it has a random tank buster there. But it also looks like it just missed. Like it just cast it in front of it for nothing. If we can keep up this damage, it's going to take like 10 minutes. But it could be worse. If you remember, part of the reason why Yellow Pelican took like 84 years is because most of the damage we did was just the dot and nothing else. Only 10 minutes. Yeah, only 10 minutes. I believe the worm took 8. And it took us like 20 minutes to do the first part of the dungeon. I'm really feeling the lack of ether flow. This is going to be the easiest, but it might, although whenever it reaches me it does like half of my health in an instant, so maybe it's going to be a little scary. I can really feel it on my MP that we don't have ether flow. Those 20% every minute I'm really missing right now. See, that did it again and just missed. So you might be wondering, why is it not casting its voice? Because I believe it's an HP thing. According to the guide, it should start casting Rams and Dragon's voice at 75%. But that was 82. So I'm guessing that the people that made the guide never saw it casted that early. Oh. Hello. This is also part of the reason why I'm like leaning towards trying the bosses with a tank first. Because I don't even care whether we can beat the boss with Scholar easily, like whether we can or not, if it can be done with a tank, because it's so much faster with a tank. For some reason. That reason being related to the fact that the 1-2-3 combo from Dark Knight does like double the damage of Ruin 2. That was a bit sudden. I didn't even see the violet eyes thing. So for anyone that is a little bit confused by this boss, it's an interestingly strange mechanic. The way that it works is that the Ram's Breath and the Dragon's Breath, they just come out like semi-randomly. Nothing much you can do there, but if you're a DPS, you just stand behind the boss, no problem. If you're a tank, just sidestep it. It's not that big of a deal. But when you see the Ram's eyes now burn blue, or the dragon's eyes now burn violet, that means that Dragon's voice or Ram's voice is coming, like, now. Like, super now. So you have to do something about that immediately. And you can see that it comes extremely fast. But you can also see that I'm at, like, nearly max range, and I can just, like, flip and just run into melee range in time, and it's fine. So if you react immediately, it's fine. But the key thing is that you have to know what you're supposed to do about it. Like, you have to react immediately, otherwise it doesn't work. And the lightning orb, as you can see, you just kite it until it leaves you alone, disappears. We're actually going to run out of MP because we have so much uptime on the boss. Now it's going to get annoying. Bonk. The book smack of justice. Yeah, most of our MP is just going to go directly from Lucid Dreaming into damage. Finally, my MP? Ow. Hey Carbuncle, do you have some MP? A book smack. Finally. I've been waiting for this all day. There's some value in when the boss is just standing still, me stopping and casting Ruin 1, because that saves me 100 MP and also does like 10 extra potency of damage. It's not much, but it's more damage than I would have done otherwise. Oh, this is going to be awkward. Excuse me. Coming through. Somehow managed it without getting hit. That is why we are saving sprint for when something goes wrong. That was the specific combination, one of the specific combinations I was afraid of happening. A violet orb combined with Dragon's Voice, because that means we have to come in close and hang out. But also that it's not safe to be close. So far, that was, I think we've been at this for 8 minutes, so apparently my estimate of 10 minutes is not going to make it. It's going to be like 15 minutes, maybe? We're saving so much mana. Go ahead, Chimera. Cast something. I dare you. Double dare you. Do it. Yes. Hello, Tarek. Says, what have you done so far? Well, this is the first dungeon we're doing on this stream, but we have actually done, aside from Brave Rock's Long Stop and Titan, where we used Blue Mage, we have actually completed everything at a that requires a lower level than Cutter's Cry with regular jobs, synced and even minimum level. So we've done Sastasha, we've done last week we also did Sunken Temple of Khan, but specifically Titan and Bravelock's Long Stop we couldn't get done. Now we'll also figure out whether those ice pools stay forever. And the reason why we're using Scholar is because we discovered that Dark Knight cannot keep up with the intense damage of the second boss, the Worm. You know, there might be a point to that thing about the ice pools never disappearing. And that's that might become a problem. Oh, never mind. Just long enough that I got scared. Has he stopped using Dragon's Voice for some reason? But yeah, for the most part, I've been trying to use like non-healers if I can get away with it, because it goes faster. It's a little bit more interesting than this. Although there is something funny about endlessly kiting a boss that you're supposed to have a full party for. This is also a good example of the reason why Savage content and Extremes always have an enrage timer. Because if they didn't have like a... Oh, Dragon's Voice. That was a long time without a Dragon's Voice. If they didn't have timers to require you to like get a move on, then you could beat most like endgame content by just oh, that is a problem. I hope this is close enough. Yeah, then you could beat pretty much all content in the game just by outlasting the boss. If there's no DPS checks and there's no like timer at all, then you have as long as you need, which makes all DPS redundant. We're almost there after about 13 minutes. And like 50,000 mana. That's just a guess. I don't know how much mana we've been spending, but I certainly don't have any more. So can you solo Cutter's Cry with a regular job at minimum level? Yes. Absolutely. Although it will take you over an hour. It took us 62 minutes and 42 seconds. So, anyone awake? Are you awake there? Or out there in the world? We finished! We did it! Hello, Hazian. How are you doing? Ravia says progress is progress. I agree! Absolutely. And Umi is here as well. Coco says, what happened? Did I fall asleep? Maybe, but we did it. Hazian says, what are you going for next? We are going for Stone Vigil next, which we will try with a tank first. And if we can't, like if we literally reach a point where it cannot be done, or at least where I cannot do it, then we will go out, give it a try with Scholar, and if we still can't, then if it was like on the edge of possibility, then we can try again with a tank without being minimum level. And we can try again with Scholar while being not minimum level. But at worst, we're going to give it a try with Blue Mage as the last resort. If we reach content where it cannot be done with Blue Mage, then the conclusion is going to be, well, either it's obvious that you can do it with a max level job, or we will actually try it with a max level job. And the reason why I say that is because I know later that we will eventually reach content where it can't be done. After all, I made the video that says, can you solo Final Fantasy XIV? No. But why? So we will reach hurdles where it can't be done. Under normal circumstances. And technically we already breached some of those points. For example, Titan, you can't do without going unsynced unless you have a Blue Mage with spells that you shouldn't have at level 35. Have my ley lines. Thank you. Are you both mage mains? Or what are you? Sharo and Ymir. I can't remember. I don't think I've given you a present on account of you not being on my friends list. Tank main. So if you were to choose a role that isn't melee DPS or tank, what would it be? Both Ymir and Sharo. Look at the carbies. Yeah, I suppose yours is emerald? Hmm. The red mage. How about you, Ymir? Res mage. Tank, well, healer, ranged, physical, or mage. Summoner or gunbreaker. Then you get to have this. Being a res mage with blue mage friends is fun. Imagine being a tank with blue mage friends. Like, if you're in a group with blue mages, the only reason you're there, if you're not a blue mage, is, oh yeah, you tank damage better. Oh, thank you. You tank damage slightly better. Or, oh, we need a lot more healing, and a healer can do that better. Or, well, you can res better. Right, so those chest pieces, by the way, I crafted myself, so you can see my name on the bottom of it as the creator. I'm pretty sure that disappears if you put it in the glamour chest. So if that matters to you, keep that in mind. I hope you enjoy them. They should give more utility to red mage at earlier levels. Don't they get emboldened at level 60? 58, it feels super early. Right, Stone Vigil. Do we need to fix anything here? It's a huge height difference, but that is also because I'm the second, I'm the smallest thing if you don't count Lalafels. Stone Vigil. And in we go. Now, at level 40, the tanks all get their step 2 combo to their AoE. That is completely irrelevant, because we will absolutely die to not having enough healing if we suddenly start using that. So it doesn't really help us very much to have this. An awkward spot here is that we are in an awkward health threshold where Mega Potion is the best one, but X Potion, but Mega Potion has actually reached its limit, and X Potion is like worse because of cooldown reasons, so it's a little bit awkward. Ravio says, are female auras minimum height smaller than Catgirl minimum height? Yes, they are. We have Edge. We have Edge of Darkness. That is, I had completely forgotten we get Edge of Darkness. We get Edge of Kill something. I didn't know for a long time either, Ravio, but then I ran into a random cat girl named something like a really small person, stood next to them and was like, oh yeah, well guess what? I get what you mean, Hazian, but I think if red mages got much more than what they have, they would have a little bit too much utility. And a common complaint with red mage is that on one hand, it is sort of balanced, that it does less damage than the other mages simply because it has so much utility. But on the other hand, in the hardest content in the game, if you actually need your red mage to res like a bunch of people, then you're going to wipe to the enrage anyway. So the fact that red mage has all that utility sort of falls flat, because where it is most important, what matters is ultimately that it does less damage than its competition. And if you gave a red mage even more utility, that would only make this problem worse. You could say, well, they don't have to tax red mage for its utility. No, but they have. They have decided to do that, so them's the conditions. So we just have to accept that until they change that. I think what would be more interesting is if they added more utility to like the strongest jobs, so that it made more sense for jobs to be more equal. But there is a reason why some jobs get more utility than others. Could you just stick other types of damage buffs onto red mage aside from embolden to make up for the personal damage? You could, but the problem is that the reason why red mage is weaker than the other... It's important to note that black mage is significantly stronger than the other mages because it provides no utility. Like, actually zero support to the party, pretty much. So the only way it can add anything to a group is by its defensive utility is that it'll kill the mob really fast. But it offers nothing defensively. So red mage and summoner have damage buffs. They both have one. But the reason why red mage is slightly weaker than summoner, just I believe it's like on average, red mage is very slightly weaker at like played at the top level, is because red mage can raise 4 people in quick succession if they want to, which is incredibly broken, except in the hardest content. If you need that to happen, then you will not make the enrage timer, so it doesn't matter. And then also red mage has a defensive rate buff, and red mage has a heal that actually works. Those things are defensive utility, and defensive utility costs something else, and that something else is damage output. If you gave red mage more damage buffs to give to the party, then that is irrelevant, because then it would have to get its actual personal damage nerfed further to keep it in line with this weird tax they've decided on. I don't care what they do, but that's basically how it has worked. The reason why some jobs are weaker is typically something it has defensive utility. Like, it's really good if you need the defensive utility, but if you don't, or it doesn't matter, then it feels like you're getting punished for having something that doesn't do anything. That is, by the way, also the reason why Machinist was so weak for a long time. Machinist's DPS had, quote-unquote, had to be worse than a melee DPS because Machinist is a ranged DPS, and the simple fact of being ranged is technically a defensive utility, or a utility at all, which costs something. And the typical place where everything is taxed is on your damage output. It's the typical tangible place where jobs lose something to pay for their utility, is you have to pay with damage output to get more utility, and once you get into the hardest content in the game, most utility doesn't matter, because in the spirit of finding the most effective way to do the most damage possible, players are willing to sacrifice every single defensive cooldown they can get away with sacrificing. Oh, we don't need Red Mage's magic barrier. I don't care about Summoner's Searing Light or its Radiant Aegis, doesn't matter. Machinist has Dismantle and Samurai does better damage, so use that one. We just need a ranged DPS, and that could be Dancer, which makes the Samurai better. Things like that. But anyone that comes into Final Fantasy XIV, like, from, say, a different Final Fantasy game, like if you played, I don't know, Final Fantasy I, then one of the big selling points of Red Mage is that it can do a little bit of everything, right? It can function as a backup healer. It can, like, apply buffs to your party. It can apply debuffs to the enemies. And given that buffs and debuffs typically don't rely on your stats very much, Red Mage is really good at doing that. Meanwhile, in Final Fantasy XIV, it's a dedicated DPS. It's not supposed to heal. It can as a backup, but it's not supposed to. And it applies no debuffs. And it has a few buffs. So I can see why that would be jarring. Charo says, thing is, isn't even Final Fantasy XIV more focused on casual playstyle players? Hard to say. Hard to say. We don't know their metrics, but what we do know is that they're trying to balance the game in a certain way, and that the best way we can see that reflected in the game is when they make balance changes. And we see them buff or nerf a job for some, like, for whatever reason. For example, despite Black Mage being the strongest mage DPS by a significant margin, considering everything that like Savage Raiders care about, I think we're dead. Or maybe not. If you compare Black Mage to Red Mage and Summoner based on any metric that Savage Raiders care about, then Black Mage is so much stronger than the other mages that it's not even funny. However, this comparison is done in the context of, if you play perfectly, then Black Mage is best. And Black Mage requires an incredibly high, like, skill level to play, like, at all. It's not even about playing perfectly, it's just playing the job at a decent level. But ultimately, what the best players in the game cares about is what can you do if you play perfectly. But if the developers genuinely believe that Black Mage needs a buff, that is either because the current Savage Raid that we were just given now is so brutally cruel to Black Mage that it needs that buff to even have a chance against Summoner and Red Mage, which, by the way, has a lot of mobility. Summoner has more mobility than both Red Mage and... I think I'm dead. Can I stun you? No. I don't think that's good enough. Oh, it is. Perfect. I really don't want to get hit by that Lion's Breath, but it has such a short reaction time that it's really hard to avoid it by not without like just staying away while it isn't casting anything. But if we're doing it like that, then this fight is going to take an eternity. It's also really good about not using it if I'm obviously not in range. I believe it's casting Swinge twice. Can hope. Perfect. Gives me more chances to heal. But yeah, Sharo, you are partly right. It seems like Final Fantasy XIV caters very heavily to a very casual player base. But you know, they're still making ultimates which are clearly not casual content. And they're still making Savage content which is not that casual either. So it's hard to say. And what they balance it around is also difficult. We know for PvP, for example, that it's very clearly being balanced around Crystalline Conflict. They're literally balancing like exact potencies and health amounts around Crystalline Conflict. And then they're fixing, like making small adjustments to the jobs for frontline optimization by going, oh, but actually in frontline all tanks and melee DPS take half damage. Which fixes the problem of, you know, if you go into melee range, you die to the AoE. Sharo says Summoner can walk more, while Red Mage has more possibilities with a jump and a backflip. So for most mobility, Summoner is stronger. If you need to get fast to the boss or away from it, then the Red Mage has the upper hand. Well, you're right. But in most cases, just casually running is going to be plenty, and you have to remember that once a minute, Summoner can also jump into melee range with the Ifrit action if they plan it. It's a longer story to explain it, but it is relatively agreed upon that Black Mage has more burst mobility than Red Mage. Which means, and your argument is that Red Mage has more burst mobility than Summoner, which is correct. But Summoner has more mobility just flat out in general than both of the other mages, simply because you have to cast for like 10% of your rotation as a Summoner. Which is impossible to compete against if you have to cast, you know, more than that, then you're slower. And Red Mage has to, on average, cast for, you know, a little bit less than half of its rotation. But it's not that important. The only time where these minute differences actually matter is if you're trying to compare the jobs. If you're trying to make an argument for either job being better for some reason, then that's when the cards get on the table, like, oh, but actually, Black Mage can use ethereal manipulation, and Black Mage can use triple cast twice even. And because Black Mage can do that, some people would argue that it is more mobile. You could also argue in the other direction that the argument that Summoner can run for like 90% of its rotation, right? Pretty good. But Summoner has to find like 6 seconds, 8 seconds to cast every minute. It has to do that. Because if it doesn't, then the Ifrit section of its rotation goes to waste, and this single ruin cast it has to make goes to waste. Which is brutal for its damage output. Meanwhile, Summoner can... Red Mage can stockpile an entire extra melee combo if they want, and as long as they stay in melee range... Oh, there's a patrol. As long as they hang out in like melee range, then it doesn't actually... Then the melee combo is actually entirely mobile. You can perform the full... Oh, we pulled the ad. This is going to be a death, probably. But yeah, you can, like, when you use a melee combo, that is 12.5 seconds where you are instant casting. So that's 12.5 seconds of, I don't feel like casting. But if you're going, like, if you're a Black Mage main, right? If you're a Black Mage main, and you're in an argument with a Red Mage main, and the argument goes, who is the stronger at movement? Then the Red Mage is going to argue that the fact that they can cast, and we died, they can cast, well, they have an instant cast every second cast, which means that at most 50% of their spells have to be casted. That means that Black Mage is inferior. But Black Mages can go, well, I can instant cast, with triple cast, I can instant cast for 15 seconds at a time, once every 2 minutes. And then Summoner can turn around and go, well, I can do 12.5 seconds every 40 seconds. And I can stockpile that for later. So it depends on what you need. Like, half of Red Mage's mobility in that sense is also completely lost if you can't be in melee range for it. That's a long story. Personally, I'm of the opinion that all jobs are viable. And they are. When there was a moment in the second raid tier of this expansion where all jobs weren't viable, the jobs that were unviable got a small tiny buff, and the boss that made them unviable got a small nerf. So by that, we can assume that if a job isn't actually viable, it gets a buff. But the way that players, especially players that praise logs, which we talked about earlier, will read the log and go, well, the strongest mage is Black Mage. They might not even read that Black Mage, like how much better Black Mage is than the other mages. Remember, even though I say that Black Mage is stronger by a significant margin, the difference between the strongest DPS and the weakest DPS in terms of how much damage they add to the raid is like 10%. 10%. The weakest job does 10% less than the strongest job. And that is still true. Something in the ballpark of 10%, and when you're comparing tanks and healers, it's even sillier. It's like at times the tanks are differing by like 1%. Like the thing that makes one tank better is, oh well, its burst is like 10% stronger, but its sustained damage is 10% weaker to compensate for that. And in this particular fight, the fact that it has better burst is more important. Or something. Like, that's how silly it gets. But if you're just reading the log without trying to understand the log, that's what happens. People say, oh, this job is best because log said so. And then you're sitting there awkwardly like, yeah, you're re-rolling to that job because it does, like, slightly more damage. We're going to die to these, there's no way around it. It's just, we can't kite them, they're mages, but we killed one. I talked about this earlier, that the trash packs are completely irrelevant if we can kill one per go. There's also the part, Sharo, that if you go to a striking dummy and master, like, the summoner rotation, it doesn't even matter that the summoner rotation is very simple. The fact that the summoner rotation is, like, almost entirely ranged and mostly mobile means that the only concern you have going into a boss fight is, can I plan the standstill part of my rotation at a safe point in this fight? Can I do that? If the answer is yes, then the mechanics will never affect your rotation, which means that you can practice doing your rotation completely against a striking dummy. But black mages have, like, many of those transpose lines and advanced tricks that people use on black mages stem from the desire to keep doing as much damage as you can, but you need to be more mobile than what a black mage feasibly can be. Like, you need to move more than what a black mage could do. So you do all these shenanigans like transposing twice while using Xenoglossy or something, so that you can also use Ice Paradox again, because that's instant or something like that. Those kinds of shenanigans stem from the fact that you want more instant cast spells than you have. And Summoner doesn't have to do that. They both don't have to do that, and their toolkit is so simple that they can't. Like, they have nearly no customization in their rotation. It's simply, the summoner rotation is about as rigid as a boss fight with paths. Like, Seed of Sacrifice has approximately as many paths in its mechanics as Summoner has in its rotation. Hersian says, do you have a favorite job yourself? Right now, I would say my favorite job is, like, Paladin. I feel like that would be my favorite. But it can change. Like, it changes a lot. But I've had a lot of fun with new Paladin. Which is, like, a very... a lot of old school Paladins don't like it. But the Paladin was my first tank in Final Fantasy XIV. I got around to Warrior a lot later. I often play Warrior just as much because it's like a close second. But the short and simple reality for me is that many of my favorite jobs are many of the easier jobs to play. Like, I really do like playing Summoner. But I also really like playing Black Mage because I like me some spell speed. I think it's fun. It's like Yellow Pelican all over again. It even has the tank buster and everything. Yeah, Paladin is... I really like it. It has a lot of options. It has the ability to, like, adapt to the situation with Clemency and Holy Spirit a lot. Coco says, do you know the priest in Wolf's Den? What do I need to get the title? You need to buy a full armor set, and if there is one, the appropriate weapon. If it's a job that existed before Stormblood, there will be a weapon. If it's from after Heavensward, then there won't be a weapon. You roll up to the priest in a full outfit with weapon if needed, and then you request a title. She will give you a title. That's it. Oh, that's going to be a problem. How much damage? 700? Are you insane? I'm supposed to be soloing you. What job is it, Coco? Bard. Oh yeah, then you're going to need a weapon. Is it because you want the title, or is it because you want to use the title for the achievements that it is used for? Like the mount farms and such? Because if it's just so you have a title to mount farm with, you don't actually need the Bard title and to play Bard to progress those achievements. You just need to equip a title. Just a title that matches the achievement, and then you can play any job. So you can just like grab the dancer title, and then you can just do your PvP grind. You don't have to use the specific one for the job you're going to play. You need to unlock Bard. Oh. Well, the Bard, I think, is the job that is probably the job that has been unlocked by the most players without actually leveling it beyond level 30. Because of the whole performance thing. Also, the boss has 70% health? I thought it was doing a lot of damage, but apparently not. You're a chonky boy. Let me tell you that. Ow. And attack speed slow does not work. Good to know. Does stun work? No. This is going to be a problem if it uses the... And there's the problem. Right on Q. Ow. Fash Day says, when Final Fantasy XIV updating takes all bandwidth. We're dead, by the way. I have to survive this by using all of my cooldowns, which means I won't have the cooldowns for the next time. And the boss is outrunning my healing. Takes all the bandwidth, so viewing stream stutters. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't think Final Fantasy XIV has like anything where you can adjust those? Like how much bandwidth it's eating? Oh boy. This arena is too small for shenanigans. We're going down, fellas. I don't think I can do this. With Dark Knight at the very least. One swing away. Oh my! Oh dear. Oh boy. We're going down. We're going down, down in an earlier round. Take me! Ah! That took 6 minutes. And it just killed us by slowly whittling us down. Like, it was a case of... I think we could do this if this was, like, not minimum level. Like, that's how close it is. But if we do that, then we have to do the first boss again. Which would also be easier if we were not minimum level. Gunsmoke says, you're real, Fashday. Yeah, my moderator is real, guys. He's very real. Nope, it does not. Just got to the point where you said, oh boy, we're going down. I believe you can catch up to the stream by refreshing the stream. Nyoko says, is it meant to be Dark Knight only? Warrior sounds like kind of like it might be easier for this. Why would Warrior be easier for this? You know what? I can say I cannot do that fight with Dark Knight as it is now, so I'll hop out, then we can have a discussion. I would like to know why you believe that Warrior might be easier, and then we can talk about that. Then I can explain to you the reasonings. And it's not to like put you on the spot. I would love to hear it. I'm pretty sure Fashday is on like insanely fast internet. It's just that he has not. I believe he played Final Fantasy XIV last before Endwalker, like a short time before Endwalker, and then because of you know. In Endwalker. Okay, in that case, Nyoko, let me know when you're back, then I'll tell you about it. Nyoki, sorry. Then, when Endwalker came out, the queues were so insanely massive that if you were not a paying player, like if you were on trial, so the way that the Final Fantasy XIV works is that if you have a subscription, then when the server's full, it will put you in a queue, and it usually takes those in batches, so you will see you try to log in, you'll see your 30th in queue or something, and then like 20 seconds later you get pushed into the game, no problem. That's usually like these batches, they take a bunch of people at once. So if you're on trial, then you will be pulled in with these batches. So like if it says you're 50 in the queue, then it might take like 100 people in at once, and then it's no problem. And if the queue instead says that you're number 1000 in the queue, then you might see that the queue goes down by 100 or 200 per like 30 seconds. But the thing is, if you're on the free trial, then you will always get put in the back of the queue. So like, they'll push in new people into the queue and put all of the trial players in the back. So you'll just get, like, imagine going to a grocery store, you go to the cashier, and every time someone else goes up to the queue, you have to let them go first. In rush hour, you will not get to pay for your stuff. It will not happen. And that was Final Fantasy XIV for weeks after Endwalker's release. Detour says, is Dark Knight able to keep themselves up against bosses in lower dungeons? At level 20, so at really low levels, tanks keep themselves alive entirely on their 1-2-3 combo. So, the long and the short of it is, Gunbreaker heals for 200 potency every Brutal Shell. So before level 26, Gunbreaker actually heals for 100 potency per GCD, and you might be seeing this, it creates a barrier which nullifies damage equal to HP restored. Doesn't matter, that's a level 52 trait, so you don't have that in low level dungeons, so it's only 200 potency in total. Paladin has nothing, which makes Paladin completely unviable for this kind of challenge until at the very least you get Clemency, but even then it's going to be really difficult. Dark Knight heals 300 potency every 3 GCDs, which means that it's just as good as Gunbreaker's 1-2 combo, except Dark Knight gets 3 steps. And then it also does 10% more damage all the time. And now, you might be thinking, well, Warrior's known to be really good at healing itself. Yes, with Bloodwetting and Raw Intuition. But when you only have Storm's Path is only 250 potency, which is less than 300. That's pretty much the gist of it. That is the reason why Warrior is not better than Dark Knight at level 40, for example. There's also the part that at level 40, which Stone Vigil is level 41, at level 40, Warrior gets Mithril Tempest, which does nothing for us at this level. In fact, it just makes things awkward because we want to use it for the damage bonus, but we don't have the healing to do that. Gunbreaker gets Demon Slaughter, doesn't heal you, so you get into the same problem. The only benefit is that it gives you cartridges, which you also can't use because it doesn't heal you. And Dark Knight gets Age of Darkness at level 40, and Stalwart Soul, which we can't use. But they get Edge of Darkness, which is good. Haitian says, does Thrill of Battle at level 30 not help? Let me check something. Nyoki says, sorry for that. I was thinking about Warrior to the healing. Obviously, I was thinking about more kiting, and that would help. So I will go over it again. So I'm just checking something. So Thrill of Battle at this level is a 600 HP heal. Just 600 every 90 seconds. That's not bad. So I'm just going to run up to these mobs to demonstrate how much Storm's Path does. I have just enough time to do that before they kill me. So Storm's Path heals for 222. Just jot down that number, then we also use Thrill of Battle here. About 220, right? I'm not intentionally playing bad, I'm just demonstrating the healing. We could kill those with Vengeance, for example. We could kill one of them and then go in and kill one of them, go in and kill one of them. We could do that. But the crux of this issue is that Dark Knight heals for like 20% more. 20% more than Warrior with its 1-2-3 combo. Which means that it would heal for like 260. So that's 40 more every 3 GCDs. So Let's see here. Okay, so my estimates say that technically Warrior will heal for like 120 more per 90 seconds than Dark Knight will, if Dark Knight just spams 1-2-3 combo endlessly. And Warrior has a slightly bigger burst heal, so that could actually make a difference. But there's also the part that Warrior's 1-2-3 combo, it does slightly more damage, but Dark Knight gets Edge of Darkness. We could try it, if you'd like. Hazian says, does Berserk also crit the healing? I genuinely don't know. I actually have in, maybe you're thinking of this because I mentioned it in a relatively recent like 10 tips video. If you use an action that inherently critically hits, then the healing from Bloodwedding will always critically hit. For some reason, and now it's going to get a little awkward to test this. Let me see if I can do it. No, I can't do that because the weapon will not match. The only way to test this is to go to a place where we scale down to level 60. Hey, Skeleton Orchestra! Well, still glad to see you. Training Addict says, I've only been playing for 19 days. I finished all of MSQ and all raids on normal. Did you just mash? I'm guessing that you mashed through all of the cutscenes. Or there's also, like, you said you finished all MSQ and all raids normal. So I'm going to assume that you actually did all of the MSQ, but there's also the possibility that you paid for a skip. Thank you, Skeleton Orchestra. Coco says, when are you gonna launch Kai tank tips? There is a 6 tips on tanking video. We use Berserk, and we use Storm's Path. And we can see Storm's Path damage crits, the healing does not. So the simple fact here, and the reason why I'm demonstrating it, Hazian, is because the tooltip of Berserk does nothing to explain why it works like that. The closest you could get to explaining it is that Berserk says each stack guaranteeing weapon skill attacks are critical and direct hits. And it doesn't technically say that healing counts. But the way that it works is, let me go back to my house to show this. If you use Bloodwedding or Raw Intuition and you use an attack that inherently always critically hits, this means Primal Rend, Chaotic Cyclone, or Inner Chaos, then the healing from these actions will always crit. But those are the only actions that do that. If there were other jobs that had such a mechanic, it would work. Now, there is one other job that has such a mechanic similar to Bloodwedding. The only job that has something similar is Sage. But Sage does not have a way to guarantee a critical hit. So they can't do it. You can see here, use Bloodwedding, Infuriate, Inner Chaos, guaranteed critical hit. Chaotic Cyclone, guaranteed critical hit. And Primal Rend will do it too. The key thing is that the tooltip itself has to say delivers a critical direct hit of whatever potency. It has to be the attack itself that does it. And then Bloodwedding separately has to exist, which means that it doesn't work with Storm's Path. It's really, really weird, and it's understandably confusing. But I will say, own up that mistake on my part. You're correct. Warrior can heal for more than Dark Knight. Warrior will heal for, like, in Stone Vigil specifically, based on this demonstration, Warrior will heal for like 120 more health over a 90-second period than Dark Knight will. Because of Thrill of Battle. So the question is, do you benefit more from that burst heal, or do you benefit more from like the consistent Soul Leader heals? Because every time you heal fully, you don't get that. Would it not also help your potions because your max health is increased? It could do that if we're actually using the potion that moment. It could do that. It could do that. That is a good point. We you know, we can try it. We can try it. But yeah, it is a bit confusing, but yeah, apparently Thrill of Battle just barely makes Warrior stronger. Now the question is whether its damage potential is going to be too low. Nice, Coco. First, she also mentioned that there's the live button next to the volume slider. I didn't even know that that worked like that. We have previously had problems with the DVR setting, making people like fall really far behind. That's fine, Ymir. Training Addict asks, I noticed nobody does Savage content with duty. Is it true? Yes. If you want to do Savage content, you have to open the party finder and find a group here. I believe on the Japanese data centers they actually use the queue. Over here, like for the newest stuff, they generally, if you're trying to do extremes or Savage old content with queue, don't. First of all, don't bother. Find a group. Again, party finder. But yeah, it's obviously confusing because it, like, the game doesn't tell you that it's old content and people don't run it. Wait, Fashday, are you saying that the reason why your internet was slow was because your computer was running at on fumes? Sharo says, I need to go offline, getting tired. I'm awake since 4 AM German time. That's a long day. Asian says, if you're sitting at 3,600 HP from Thrill and you're taking 30%, but it's below the max of that potion, then it probably helps. But if you have to go up a potion and screw up the cooldown, then maybe not. Well, I have a spreadsheet. Because I'm a mathematician. Where I know exactly how much HP I need for the next potion to actually be worth it. So if we just, I'll just jump in again to check this. So the best potion, like both considering how much it can heal you and its cooldown, is the Mega Potion when you have between 1,800 and 2,400. Now you might be saying, I have more than that. That's true, but the extra cooldown of X Potion actually makes it worse than the Mega Potion. Also the fact that it only restores 30%, but it makes it worse than the Mega Potion like entirely until you have 3,763 HP. Now I don't have 3,000 HP, so Thrill of Battle is not going to do that. I don't think even with not even with food is it going to do that. We're close, but no cigar, so there's no potion upgrade to be had. But spreading out the heals is not a bad idea. The whole benefit of trying with Warrior would specifically be that we can like burst heal with Thrill of Battle, for example. But aside from that, you would be right. If, for example, we went into Dzemael Darkhold later, and oh, everyone left. Then our HP might be high enough that either we use the better potion just outright, and the extra HP makes the better potion better, or we might not be there, and then when we use Threat of Battle, the better potion becomes worth it. Like, there's a lot to consider. Thursday says, yes, as well as patching and Firefox having too many things running as well, so now it works just fine, power save mode. I think... You know what? I think what we're going to do is it's actually getting kind of late, I think, for a lot of people. So I think what we're going to do is instead just hang out for a bit. I will make a note that we should try Warrior for Stone Vigil next time. But I think we should do it at not minimum item level because of how extremely tight it already was for Dark Knight. I'm pretty sure that 120 HP extra per 90 seconds is not going to make a difference. It wasn't that close. It was worse than that. I don't think that small amount of HP is going to be enough. There's also the part that while Warrior gets more healing, it's like in bursts. So you go, you get that 600 big, oh yes, a lot of healing, and then you have to run on less healing for 90 seconds. I'm pretty sure Fast Day plays on a desktop computer. Asian says Dzemael is also when Warrior's Home Gang comes online to let you live past getting down to 1. Where you can combine Thrill and Potion to continue fighting on after your near-death experience. That's true if those two things line up together. Because they have, like, if Home Gang is going to be those 10 seconds to reach the next Thrill of Battle and Potion, then that's helpful. But we're going to be, like, if we're... The way that we're surviving is pretty much using a potion the instant that our HP is low enough that we can benefit from most of the potion, we're using it immediately, which means that we're working with 840 extra HP every 32 seconds right now. If it lines up, then Home Gang is incredibly helpful. If it doesn't, then what happens is we're tanking with 1 HP for 10 seconds and then we die. But I think unless any of the bosses have some surprisingly huge amount of DPS, then I think actually, well, there's one thing that might be a big problem. The first boss in Dzemael Darkhold, the one with the crystals, has this mechanic where you have to pull it into like the light of a crystal to even damage it. But after a while, I can't remember how long it is, but after a while the crystal like straight up dies, and then you have to like rush over to a different crystal. I don't know if they ever turn back on again. And if they don't, then it's impossible. It is an interesting dungeon. It's exactly, Ymir. The crystal makes you nearly invincible, but if we have limited amounts of crystals in that boss fight, then it is unwinnable. Nyoki says there are 3 crystals. Do they ever recharge? Actually, you know what? That is an interesting question. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go into the dungeon and check. Because if they don't recharge, then we can't do it. If you're a normal party, then this is easy. You can, like, if you have the correct jobs... If you have the correct jobs, thank you, Skeleton Orchestra, thank you so much. If you have the correct jobs, you can sometimes beat the boss in the first crystal light, just the first one alone. But usually you just need the first and then like a fraction of the second one. But if you're alone, then it's just not happening. So I'm very interested to know whether the boss room crystals will run out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to enter the room. And see if the crystals last, like either do we, like how long do we have? And second, do they respawn? Like do they get power again? Coco says, love that power in Iceland is pretty cheap. Can get a powerful GPU and run it on blast. Oh, it's not... I don't think with Fash Day it's a matter of not being able to afford the power. It's a matter of using less power equals less electricity bill equals having more money. What is... What? Are you okay, buddy? Yoko says, I don't pay the bill. Oh, smart. That's fair. Asian says, hi to friend. Is that the friend? Recluse Hippogriff. Just hanging out. Right, so just need to make sure that I pull it while it is invulnerable so that we can, so I don't accidentally kill it. I'm just going to hang out here. See how long it lasts. Did anyone start a timer? Because I didn't. Okay, I was just about to say, is the crystal not going to dim if I don't attack? That was the first one. What was the time when we started the fight? Like, this timer, the Dzemael Darkhold instance timer, about a minute? Ymir says, what should I do now that I'm finished with the MSQ? You had done the new raid, right? Have you done the old raids? Have you done all Alliance raids? Have you done all optional extreme? Well, all optional trials, I should say. It was at 30 when it went dim. Oh. Alright, imagine me actually paying attention to the timer this time, right? I think it's at 18, and I'm going to assume that the timer starts when I enter. I want to highlight that the first crystal has not lit up again. Oh! Interesting. That one wasn't glowing before. It's close to a minute. It's close to a minute. I'm just going to like do this for a little bit, see does it run out eventually. Welcome to Science with Kai. Let's figure out if a random dungeon boss has an enrage timer. A hypothetical enrage timer. I'm sorry, Fashty. Okay, see, that one was one we stood at earlier, so it seems like it's just random. So here's something I'm curious about. What if I do this, and then I don't stand in the light? I'm just hanging out, like, next to the light. Does it last longer then? I hope you guys are watching the time. Because I missed it again. It would be pretty big brain if we can just do this. Oh, it still begins to dim. I have one more thing I want to test. Yeah, so they come back online. We have infinite time, which is a good thing. Now, yeah, exactly, Gnocchi. It will always keep one running, so we have that. I'm just curious exactly how it works. So I want to know, does it only dim from the boss itself? Or is it anyone standing in it that does that? It's not particularly helpful information, but I just want to know. Okay, it dims anyway, so that means that there is an important detail that we have to keep track of. If we have about 1 minute per crystal, then if the boss does that and I get like a huge lead on it like this, then I want to like stand over here and wait for it to chase me into the crystal as quickly as possible. Like, that's really annoying, that. But I needed to like jump into the light with me like this, so that we get as much time per crystal as possible. And then the question is how much damage it's going to be doing. I think this fight is going to be mostly like a strategic one. We are going to want to kill all the ads. Now go one shot, friend. You know what? You know you want to. Well, we have to kill it to leave. It spawned like a small army all at once. This is also an interesting detail. The ads do not require the light. So if we could deal with the ads at range, we could literally just like exit the safety of the crystal if we wanted to and just kite the boss around while dealing with the ads. I'm pretty sure that's going to get us killed because it's going to do those random red bursts of death that hit me for 1,000 there. Yeah, about 4 waves of ads. So I'm guessing like every 20% it spawns a set of ads. The rest of the bosses is like there's nothing particularly interesting to inspect about them. Either we can kill them or we can't. It was just this first boss has a mechanic that could actually just bar us entirely from fighting it. So I wanted to know this before we went in. It would be really boring if I like found a way to survive the first 3 crystals of light and then there are 3 in total. Ymir says the final boss hits really hard. That's true. I believe it gets a damage buff if it stands in the void pools that it spawns. That is also something that you need to keep in mind. But I also think that when it like connects to one of those crystal things, it doesn't hit as much. It mainly attacks with an attack you can dodge, so that could be used to our advantage to like play for time. If we need to use a potion, we can wait for cooldowns and things like that. I'm not sure, but I think it works like that. Just does that after the 3rd crystal. Oh, I know, but the void zone does give it like a damage boost. If it stands in it, it gets a damage boost from standing in it. But it also hurts you if you stand in it. So you both don't want to stand in it and you want to drag the boss out of it. And it spawns a lot of those pools, so good luck. Yeah, we unfortunately only managed to beat Cutter's Cry, but that also tells us a lot about the difficulty of this challenge. On the first few streams, we typically did like 3 dungeons. 2 or 3 dungeons at a time. This time we did 1, and then we had to like go out and resaddle just to have an idea of what to do about the second one. But I will make a note that Stone Vigil, we should try Warrior, but not at minimum item level, or minimum level. You even had to keep your pants on the whole time. Right, so people that don't know what Coco's saying about that, we discovered, so in the first of these challenge streams, I went into like I believe Sastasha and Tamtara Deepcroft as a scholar for similar reasons as why we could beat it with Cutter's Cry. Without an instant spammable attack, but we still had a pet that could heal us all the time, which made it very easy. But then someone came with the observation that Gunbreaker's actually pretty good at keeping itself alive with Brutal Shell. So we went into Copperball Mines, and we could just walk into mobs and kill them by just going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I started to remove gear, and we could still do it. So we eventually were down to like we had the chest piece on, and I believe like the hat. And then we also had the accessories, but the reason why that made less of a difference is because the defense was what was really killing us. That we had, like, we took way more damage because we didn't have the defense. But we still, like, we got to, I believe it was Hawk Manor, where we still managed to get through it with equipment, like by being smart. The hardest boss was the skeleton and the imp, where I used line of sight to make the imp lose a huge amount of casts. Like, there's like a small, like, L-shaped area in the back of the room. And, like, that's just like a little, like, cube-shaped block in the room. I wonder, can I... Oh, I can. I can just go in and show you. I can just go in and show. The advantage of explorer mode. We can even mount. I wonder if the doors are open. Seems like the answer is yes. There was probably a shortcut I could have used. How do you keep forgetting the shortcuts? Because they were on. It was not in my immediate vision. It's fine. We take the long way. This ledge, like this little bit here, you get the imp like around here, and you get the skeleton guy around here. Every time the imp starts casting, you step around here. And then when it inevitably fails to finish its cast, you step out again. Because what's going to happen is that the imp will stand here, attempt to cast, fail, look in confusion at you for like half a second, and then start to walk towards you until it would be able to hit you. So like it'll run to exactly here where you can no longer line of sight it at all. But if you step out from your cover just in time, the imp will just be like, oh, well, I can hit him now, and just start casting again, leading to you inevitably hiding again. So it just stands there, but it gets even sillier because the spell that the imp casts has, like, I'm guessing, like 25 yalms of range. So if you just want to fight the skeleton, you can just run away with the skeleton. You just like run around the room and fight the skeleton. The problem is that if you kite them both down this way, the imp will like hang out like slightly closer to the center, so eventually it'll like reach here and cast to you over there, and then it will just follow you around here, and it will not lose very many casts. Which was why the way that I went about it, and you can of course see it in the VOD on the channel, was that I would hide here, and if I messed it up so the imp came too close, I would just run through it, past it, over here to drag it back to the spot where it was easy, and then run back over and hide again. Repeatedly. And it turned out to work. Because one of the bosses could not do enough damage to kill us, but two was a bit much. Well, that also means that Fashday probably didn't finish his download of the patch. I miss anything in the chat? Was there anything you guys asked about you feel like I missed? I didn't answer? Good night, Emir. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. I feel like this is a pretty good time to stop, because a lot of the people that watch these streams, like, you also have to get up in the morning. A lot of people, it is late at this time. I think it's pretty fine. It's just a shame that it feels like that we didn't actually get that much accomplished on the stream, but I still hope you guys found it nice and enjoyable. Despite that. What I want to say then is, if you would like to have a... Now I don't have my actually, let me just grab it. Give me my document with all my notes. If you would like to have an easier time keeping track of what's happening on the YouTube channel, I have a Discord community server where you can find a schedule channel where the weekly schedule is always posted. You will also find an announcement channel where you can see all of the streams that I plan, all of the videos that come out, all of that with a convenient link that sends you there, so you can find all of the stuff in order of when they are released. And if you would like to see all of the new emotes that I have picked up today from the lovely commission from Nissa, then they are all accessible. They're all accessible to use by everyone on the Discord server. And of course, if you have Nitro, you can use them on all servers if you like, I would believe. And yeah, if you would like to have those new fantasy emotes we've made, or that we've gotten, like popcorn, or small guy eating candy, or an etherite, that is one of the perks of being a member of the channel. It also supports me, of course. So it is a way for you to support me where you get a little something in return. It also comes with your name showing up at the end of my videos, and you get a special title on the Discord server, and you get the opportunity to vote on things sometimes that happen on the channel, like what job guides that I make. Although I suppose that is going to end soon-ish, because we're running out of jobs to vote on. But yeah, in the next few days I'm going to be putting out some Summoner remake guides. So if you've ever seen my Summoner guides for Endwalker, they're a bit older than some of my newer ones. It's like they're from the start of Endwalker, so they're really like freshed up compared to like, the new one's going to be really freshed up, and there are some things that have changed. Coco says, I mean, you could make crafter guides. I have a crafter guide. There is one. And you don't need one for every crafter. They all play exactly the same. You need one for each and every one. But yeah, I think that's everything. On Friday, we're also like covering 10 mechanics that you might not know about, like core mechanics of Final Fantasy XIV. It can be something as pedantic as how often do dots tick, and you might be saying that's every 3 seconds, right? And kinda yes, kind of yes. But it's also things like, how do auto attacks work? How do snapshotting of dots work? How can you die through an invulnerability? Things like that, like really janky mechanics. How do they work exactly? So I hope you'll find that helpful. And of course, Saturday, we will probably have the penultimate episode of Rewind Replay in terms of beating the Endwalker leveling story. There's still going to be the actual post-game story, but we're like 2 episodes away from finishing the leveling story, if any of you are interested in seeing that. And I think that's everything. I might have a surprise something on Thursday, but I'll announce something about that if I do that. Like a little extra stream or something. A surprise stream. Right. That is all that I have. So if there's anything you guys want to ask about, like right before I cut the stream, this is the opportunity. If not, then all I have to say is good night or good morning, afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And I hope to see you for the streams really soon. Any final questions? Coco has a question. What's your question? Why does my back hurt? Because you sit weird in your chair. Or because you're lying weird in your bed. Or because you're sitting strange with your phone. Or because you're getting old, but that's not a guarantee that that's the reason. True for both. Right. In that case, good night. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll try to plan these solo streams a little bit more. I have heard people are a little bit sad that they happen so rarely. But thank you for watching. Good night. Or good morning, afternoon. See you guys very soon. Good night.